The cafeteria went silent the moment it happened. It wasn't the usual hush of gossip dying down or the quiet that follows the clatter of a dropped tray. This silence was sharp, like the room itself had held its breath. 3 boys stood circling a girl no one really knew yet. She was the new student, the one who had only been at Jefferson High for 2 weeks. The one who ate quietly, spoke less, and sat alone. And now, in the middle of lunch hour, they had decided she was their target. Liam, the ringleader, smirked as he flicked her juice carton across the floor. His friends, Tyler and Mason, laughed like hyenas circling prey. "What's the matter, new girl?" Liam sneered, too scared to fight back. The girl didn't answer. She just stared at them, her dark eyes calm but burning with something none of them could name. Not yet. And then, in less than a heartbeat, everything changed. Her name was Alara, 17 years old, tall but lean, with long brown hair tied back in a messy braid. She had transferred from another state after her father's sudden death forced her mother to move for work. For Alara, the new school was supposed to be a fresh start, but anyone who has ever been the new kid knows it doesn't work that way. The hallways felt like minefields. Every glance was judgment, every whisper a reminder she didn't belong. And though she carried herself with quiet strength, loneliness weighed on her shoulders like a backpack full of bricks. The cafeteria, however, was the hardest place. Tables full of laughing groups made her isolation sting even more. That's where the bullies noticed her. Because she sat alone, because she didn't talk much, because she seemed like the perfect victim. But what they didn't know, what no one knew, was that Alara wasn't like other girls they had picked on before. She carried scars, invisible ones, and a strength forged through loss and survival. It started small, comments in the hallway, laughter behind her back. But in the cafeteria that day, things escalated. Liam shoved her tray from the table, food spilling across the floor. Tyler grabbed her backpack and dangled it like bait while Mason blocked her path. Students whispered and snickered, some pulling out phones, others turning away. Alara stood still, her fists tightening at her sides. She wanted to walk away, to ignore them like she always did, but something inside her shifted. Maybe it was the memory of her father's voice telling her to never let anyone write your story for you. Maybe it was weeks of bottled-up silence ready to burst. Whatever it was, she finally looked Liam in the eye and said, steady and sharp, "Put it down." The cafeteria erupted in laughter. "Or what?" Liam mocked. He shoved the bag at her chest. "Make me?" And that's when it happened. Alara moved faster than anyone expected. She grabbed her backpack, twisted Liam's wrist, and sent him stumbling back with a cry of pain. Before Tyler could react, she sidestepped, pulling him off balance so he nearly crashed into the table. Mason charged forward, but Alara didn't even flinch. She ducked, shifted her weight, and left him sprawling face first onto the floor. It wasn't wild or messy. It was precise, controlled, almost practiced. The cafeteria froze, the laughter had died. Funds lowered. Even the teachers on duty stood in shock. 3 bullies who moments ago had been laughing at her now sat red-faced and defeated. Alara didn't gloat. She didn't smirk. She just adjusted her braid, picked up her tray from the floor, and calmly walked away. But of course stories like this don't end so easily. The 3 boys, humiliated, were furious. They spread rumors, claiming Alara was violent, unstable, dangerous. They said she'd attacked them unprovoked. Some students believed them. Others didn't know what to believe. Alara found herself called into the principal's office, questioned about the incident. "Why didn't you walk away?" the principal asked. "You could have avoided all of this." Her chest tightened. She had walked away every day for weeks, until she couldn't anymore. But how do you explain that to someone who's never been cornered? She was suspended for 3 days. The boys. Barely a warning. That night, Alara sat in her room, staring at the ceiling. She wasn't angry at the punishment. She was angry at the unfairness, that the truth didn't matter, that people only saw what they wanted to see. For a moment, she thought maybe she should go back to silence. Maybe it wasn't worth fighting. But then she remembered something. When she had stood her ground, the cafeteria went silent. Not just because the boys were shocked, but because for once, everyone saw the truth. She wasn't weak. She wasn't invisible. She was more than their target. When she returned to school, whispers followed her, but they were different this time. Some students avoided her. Others looked at her with awe. And slowly, one by one, people started sitting with her. A girl named Ava, who had always been too shy to speak up, slid into her lunch table and whispered, "You were amazing." A boy from math class asked if she'd teach him how to stand up for himself. For the first time, Elara wasn't alone. The three boys tried to regain control, but their laughter sounded weaker now. Students weren't afraid of them anymore. The balance had shifted. It didn't mean life was suddenly perfect. Elara still missed her dad. She still struggled with loneliness. But she had faced something impossible and come out stronger. And that strength began to ripple outward, giving others the courage to push back against cruelty. In the end, the story wasn't about a fight in a cafeteria. It was about what happens when one person decides they've had enough. It was about finding power in your voice, even when the world tells you to stay silent. Elara's father used to say, "Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's standing up even when you're scared." That's what she did. That's what we all must do when faced with injustice. And if you've made it this far into the story, I want to ask you something. What would you have done if you were in Elara's place? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to read them. And remember, every share, like, and subscription helps us keep telling stories that matter. So if you found Elara's story inspiring, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. This is your reminder from my channel to you: be kind always.